Thanks, Dee, and welcome to all of you who are joining us today. Let's talk a little bit about why we're here. Well, the key thing is that 1/4 of the year is gone. We've entered into this year, like every year, with many goals in front of us, 365 days of optimum selling time in front of us. And here we are at the end of the first quarter, 1/4 of the year is gone, and the key question is, are we on track to hit our sales number? In order to figure that out, today we're going to discuss 4 different areas. The first is we're going to look at our sales funnel, our pipeline, and we're going to conduct 3 must-do tests to evaluate the health of our overall pipeline. The second thing is that we're going to identify what we call false positives. The third is, if for instance you are a little bit in the hole on your sales funnel, we're going to provide some ways which we think you can use to catch up on your sales. And then finally, we're going to look at some critical actions you can take to accelerate high-quality leads that will actually close. So the first thing is we need to sit down and actually judge the health of our pipeline. So much like when you go to the doctor and they give you a fitness test or a health test, we've got a series of tests we're going to run on your pipeline. The first is to evaluate the core numbers. Every pipeline has 3 core numbers that you ought to be looking at. The first is the raw funnel. The second is your probability weighted funnel, and the third is what we call your commit forecast. We'll walk through each one of these and help you understand what that number is and why you should be looking at it. The first is the raw funnel. Quite simply, the raw funnel is the sum total in dollars of all the opportunities you have in your sales funnel. Simply take each of the opportunity items, the amount for that opportunity item, and sum all of that up. Now, I find this is a useful number, but really it's only useful as a general measure. It doesn't tell me anything specific about what's coming up. It's the best of all possible cases. But I do find it to be useful when I compare it to historical year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter raw funnels from the past. The second is our probability weighted funnel. This is the sum total in dollars of our funnel, but we're going to apply a probability for each opportunity in the funnel. Now, this can be a very useful measure for us, but really it's only useful if the methodology that we're using to apply a probability is sound. And it is also only useful if we have many deals in the funnel. What we'll see later is that if you have just a few deals in the funnel, or if you're applying an inconsistent methodology for how you determine the weight or the probability that a deal will close, this can cause problems. Like the raw funnel, this is very useful when compared to historical data year-over-year and quarter-over-quarter. The third number that we're going to look at is our commit forecast. And this is the sum total in dollars of all the opportunities in your funnel that your team actually guarantees are going to close within a particular period, whether it's a month, a quarter, half a year. Now, this is the most realistic number you can possibly have in your sales pipeline. Only, though, if your team really understands how to forecast. Like the other numbers, this is very useful from an historical comparison point of view. So let's talk about why the historical comparison is such an important characteristic of looking at these 3 quarters, or these 3 numbers. In this example, what I'm showing is year-over-year quarter 1 sales for 2012, 13, 14, and 15. And with each one of these, I'm looking at a funnel measure, raw, weighted, commit, but I'm also comparing my actual sales for that given quarter and the number of opportunities I had in the funnel. And in this case, what I'm doing is I'm comparing year-over-year quarter sales, and I'm looking at each of these funnel measures as they relate to the raw funnel. Now, in this particular example, I'm using dollars and millions, and in this case of 2012, what I have is a probability weighted funnel of 15 million off a base of 25. In other words, I'm forecasting with my probability weighted that 60% of my raw funnel is going to close. My commit funnel, the amount that my team is guaranteeing is going to close, is only 9 million, which represents 36% of the 25 million. My actual came in at 8 million, which was 32 million, or 32%. So think about that. My team forecasted 9 million. I came in at 8, which is really not too bad. If I look at the number of opportunities of 27, I can see that my average deal size was 930 million. Now that's the basis that I'm going to use for comparing all the future years. In 2013, I do the same math, and I see that my actual was 23% of my raw funnel. My commit was 40% of my raw funnel. So I can see that there was something that went wrong here. I was committing 12, I only closed 7. When I look at the number of opportunities in the funnel, 20 versus 27, I can see that my average deal size was much larger. My average deal size was 1.5 million. So chances are in 2013 in Q1, what happened was I had some larger deals that were skewing my funnel. I can do the same analysis year over year or quarter over quarter using those core numbers I talked about. So if I'm looking at how I can forecast for Q1, I can look in this case at my raw funnel of 40 million. I can see that my probability weighted is 25 million or 63%. I can see that my team is committing a $14 million number, which is 35% of my raw funnel. And I can see that I have 27 deals or opportunities in the funnel with an average deal size of 1.48. Now, if I want to look at year over year, as in this case, I can take a number of metrics. I can take the number of opportunities. I can take the percentage of actual versus commit. I can take the percentage of actual versus raw, percentage weighted, and so on. And I can use that type of analysis to see what's really going to close and tell me how healthy my funnel really is. The next thing you need to do is evaluate what I call your funnel characteristics. Now we've all seen a sales funnel drawn, and usually it is a funnel. It starts broad and it goes narrow. But sometimes when you look at your sales pipeline, what you see is that in fact you may have very few leads in the top side of the funnel and have a lot of opportunities in the low side of the funnel. This is not a healthy funnel. What this basically means is you've found a way to push whatever deals you have through your funnel. You think you're going to close them, but the top of your funnel is very, very weak right now. So it's a very unhealthy funnel. You may have a funnel that's very narrow, and again, it can be inverted as you look at this. So when you think about evaluating your funnel, look at the number and dollar size of the opportunities in each stage in your funnel. Also look at the days in stage and the days in funnel. If you've got opportunities in your funnel that have been in your funnel for a very, very long time, chances are it's not a very healthy funnel. The next thing is to evaluate what I call the funnel concentration. So the first way I look at it is I think in terms of the percent of my sales funnel, my sales pipeline, that is being driven by each of my sales reps. In this example, I can see that rep number 2 is generating by far the largest component of any of my reps in my sales pipeline or my sales funnel. So what does this mean about the health of my funnel? Well, if that sales rep is a consistent performer, then it probably means that the commit or the forecast numbers I have and the overall health of my funnel might be pretty good. On the other hand, I've got a lot of eggs in one basket, and what happens if that rep doesn't close those deals? I've got a very significant portion of my sales funnel that could evaporate very quickly. The same thing can be done from a client concentration point of view. Much like a stock portfolio, you can look at this and you can see in this example that I'm very, very heavily weighted. In fact, I've got most of my sales funnel coming from one client. That is not a very healthy position to be in. However, if we're able to close the work for that client, it will show a high degree of certainty and correlation between my commit funnel and my overall raw. So these are just some basic things to look at. Look at the core measures, look at the characteristics of your funnel, and then finally evaluate the concentration. Now that we know a little bit about the health of our funnel, let's think in terms of how we can identify these things called false positives. So what is a false positive? Well, a false positive from a sales point of view is an opportunity that is forecasted to close, but for some reason won't. There are a few different tests that I run when I'm working with my reps or with my clients to make sure that I'm not counting on a job closing, an opportunity closing, because it's a false positive. The first is I look at whether or not it can pass a basic qualification test. In this case, I'm suggesting a BANT qualification, so budget, authority, need, and timeline. Now you might have your own qualification criteria you use to make sure that an opportunity truly is qualified. And whatever that qualification criteria is, you need to make sure that an opportunity really can pass that. You'd be surprised at how many opportunities are in some form of a proposal stage or a close stage where the rep is telling you that the deal is absolutely positively going to close and that's why they're committing it, and it hasn't even passed the most fundamental qualification criteria. The second is, and it's very much related, is that the rep can't produce what I call a win plan. So as you're tracking an opportunity through the sales funnel, at each stage along the way, you ought to be developing a plan for how you're going to win that particular opportunity. If the rep can't put together a coherent win plan, how we're going to get to the next stage, how we're going to make sure that the influencers are recommending us to the ultimate executive buyer, then chances are that deal is not going to close, or it's not going to close within the time frame that the rep is talking about. The third thing is, and this is a comment I get a lot of times from reps, is, look, Scott, this client has to buy us. We're the only option. You know, life has very few certainties, but one of those certainties is you always have an option, and a client always has an option too. They cannot buy anything. They can decide to do something with an internal option. Or, you know what, chances are if you're saying they don't have an option, they're probably out there on the market looking for other alternative bids, and they may just have another option. So when somebody gives me an absolute that we absolutely positively are going to win this deal, and that's why I'm committing it, because the client has no other option, I start to get a little bit nervous. The next thing is that the different funnel metrics and the different types of health items I talked about in the earlier part of this presentation, if I see that an opportunity is not following the basic historical funnel metrics, so say for instance we have a deal that our rep is saying is going to close within 50 days, and our normal sales cycle is somewhere around 300 days or 150 days even, then I have to start asking myself, why all of a sudden is this deal going to fall through the funnel that quickly? If we have a deal that is much, much larger and has a higher degree of probability from the sales rep's point of view to close, I have to start asking myself, why is it? Why is this really, really large deal all of a sudden going to close? So I look at what I consider my historical funnel metrics, and if the deal's outside those, it doesn't mean it's not going to close. It just makes me ask questions and dig deeper to find out if this thing really is going to close. And the final thing is, the world, I guess, is divided into people who think the glass is half full and those who think it's half empty. I think that's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it. I think you can be very practical and still be optimistic. I like reps who are optimistic, but I also like reps who are practical. So if we've got somebody who's always that glass is half full, things are going to close, it's absolutely positively going to close this quarter or next quarter, and yet consistently their deals aren't closing, well, then that's a particular person that I'm going to apply a little bit more scrutiny to. So let's talk a little bit about if you find yourself in a position right now as we round out the end of the quarter, and for some reason your sales pipeline is not what it should have been, you're not closing as many deals as you thought you would, and you're looking for ways to catch up. Well, the first thing I always look at, and I've spent most of my life in technology sales, both on the software side and the services side, is I look for ways to drive account expansion. If we think about it, account expansion means we're selling to people we've already sold to. They've already picked us. There was something inherently good about us, and they decided to go with us. So I look for ways to expand existing accounts. Now, when I do that, I really want to make sure that I'm focused on the right clients, because not all accounts are equal. Some accounts, sure, we've sold them, but we probably don't want to upsell them anymore. We don't want to look for ways to expand our footprint there. So I look for clients who treat me as a partner, who truly understand the strategic value that I have, and they have the ability to be strategic. And they probably only have one product or one of our service lines, not the full breadth of what we can do. These are the core accounts that have the opportunity to see us through the tough times and work with us as that strategic partner so that we can find ways to use our products and use our services to better their business. The second thing is to look for ways to develop referrals. Now, I think of 3 different ways to develop referrals. The first is with existing clients. We just talked about that. I've got somebody who's decided in the past they're going to buy from me. I'm providing a product, I'm providing a service, and they see inherent value in me. I've got some level of relationship with them. So of course, why wouldn't I find a way to develop a referral from that existing client? That existing client can refer me to one of their peers at another company in the industry, or they can in fact provide a referral inside their own company. So when I look to expand an account, the first way I do that is to look for internal referrals so that somebody can walk me down the hall to talk to their peer or talk to their colleague. The second way is in your personal network. Now, personal networks can be, there are not things that you develop overnight. These are things that, like saving for your retirement, you should start at the beginning part of your career, and each year you should build your personal network a little bit more and a little bit more. Some of us haven't done that, but there's really, just like with your retirement, you can start saving even late in life, and the same thing is true with your personal network. There's no reason why you shouldn't do the tried and true breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, whatever it takes to build your personal network and find ways to expand into new relationships that can possibly lead to work. And the final way that I look at it is look for ways where I can leverage channels or complementary business partners to help me develop new referrals. In the technology market, this is a very, very strong way to develop referrals. I could have done work a decade ago with a technology partner. We've kept in touch. It's turned into a personal network. We've helped sell products and services into a series of clients. They remember that, and they look for ways to expand my network and to develop referrals. Now, the third area may sound a little bit contrarian to what you might be thinking, but I use situations like this when I'm in the hole to triage my reps. So what does this mean? Well, the first thing is when times are down, and this may sound really terrible, but it's not a time to suffer fools. We're looking for a way to turn the ship and to plug the gap. So the last thing we want to do is spend a bunch of time with people who just aren't going to make it. We certainly want to treat them professionally. After all, they're human beings. They're people who we hired and we want to do well in the market, but for whatever reason, they're just not making it where we are today. So instead of spending good time after bad, let's go ahead and do the right thing by those people and give them the opportunity to go out and find a position at a company where they truly, really can succeed. The second thing, as you're thinking about that, is would I really hire this person today? Okay? So it's not just a matter of going through your team and looking at the numbers and saying that Jack is down in his numbers and Sue is up on her numbers, and so I'm going to keep Sue and get rid of Jack. There could be extenuating circumstances that are causing one person to underperform or another person to overperform. So I always ask myself, if I throw all the numbers away, would I hire that person today? What do I have to believe to understand that this person can be successful at our company selling what we sell? The final thing is, let's focus on the reps who actually can sell, and let's look for ways to incent them to accelerate sales. So when times are down, a lot of times companies will get cheap, and they'll think we need to cut costs, we need to reduce reps, we need to reduce a variety of different expenses. And sure, we need to keep the company going. We all need to make a profit, but we need to think not so short-sighted. We need to think in terms of maybe this is an opportunity for me to really do personnel development with the reps who have the potential to sell exponentially more than they're selling right now. I can do that by coaching and mentoring. I can do that by incenting them. I can do that by realigning their territories. And in some cases, from a coverage model point of view, you can get far more production. Your pipeline can be much healthier by having a smaller number of reps focusing on a larger audience than thinking that I need to have a lot of reps because that's the only way we're going to generate the revenue that we've forecasted. Let's talk a little bit about some things you can do to accelerate the quality leads that you really want, the quality leads that will close and bring you the type of business that you've really been yearning for. The first is to analyze your current clients. I see far too often people who think that every client is equal. And what we like to do is rank order the clients in your target set from best to worst, from most profitable to least profitable. And the thing to do as you're going through that, again, it's not just a financial measure. Certainly we want profitable clients, but sometimes clients that aren't our most profitable, in fact, can be our best clients because they help us develop a new product or maybe build our skills in a particular service area. Perhaps they're a referral engine. Maybe they're willing to do a press release and be a reference for us. So when we rank our clients from best to worst, it's not just a financial measure. We need to understand why one type of client, as we go through this ranking, is at the top of our list and why another would be at the bottom. And then as we do that, we need to think in terms of how do we really acquire the relationship for the people who are at the best part of the list versus the people who are at the worst. Not all clients are equal. How we acquire those clients, the marketing and the sales type activities we do to get them aren't always equal either. So let's take our clients and let's develop an ideal of the client who we really want, or maybe a couple of different types of ideals. And from there, let's focus on selling to the ideal. So let's create marketing and sales programs that are focused on that ideal, not focused on the bottom third. In fact, we very strongly recommend that you stop marketing and selling to the bottom third of your funnel. When you do that, what you have to accomplish in this process is you need to learn how to use the polite no. Find a way to refine your messaging and define your go-to-market approach so that you're attracting the people who you really want to do business with. And sometimes by saying no, you're empowering yourself to really say yes to the time that it takes to focus on the right kinds of clients, the right reps, to do the right things so that you can have a very healthy and vibrant sales funnel. I know this has been very brief, but I hope the techniques I've talked about today will be useful to you. And I strongly encourage you to check out our website and listen to the other webinars we have. Thank you very much.